You're assigned your rock in a hard place, and ostensibly it just becomes one. So there's custodians of public records, and they get called to court, and you always know when someone gets called to court, and they try saying that no, there's different regions. I'm in this region, and instead of like trying to explain where they're at, that just defines that they're scared of leaving their field. Job security. And so if you need job security in the court of law, it's like, wow, what a joke. And so that's when court becomes theatrics, and you're just trying to prove your point to the judge, who is like trying to see what's literal. And so yeah, lost my mainframe. So that needs a label. Or the feds are supposed to protect the border, but when they get like a bioweapon, like a China virus that leaks over, it's just because it's on large scale. Label the action has like the causal result, no matter if it is something you wouldn't think it is. And so when it comes to like things that seem to go under the radar, obviously like pollution seems, it would be a gaseous state, and everything else is liquid or solid. But when you've got liquid and a solid, it's quicksand. So, and I'm mentioning this is because like there's hot spots and free stuff. I got creamer for free. It has ice gas stations or anywhere where there's vendor machines. There's a way in tackling the unreal. You'd be surprised what you can do with so little. It's like when Stephen Hawking, he was explaining how God made the integers, and if you don't know what that means, it's okay. I don't think he did either. All the bigwig scientists in the field, and him knowing the yard better than ambushed the good brother. And so this is what I view in the cult-like of science, is where there's broken up, believe it or not, into field, willing to risk it all. The game of who is reliable, because nothing's figured out to the degree of what an understanding is. In order for us to leave the solar system in a vehicle, we can't do it. The science isn't there. So it's this giant game of pretend, where the giant game of the name of yourself means everything. You're promoting yourself in order for job security. They're not holding their wherewithal in it. Do what was found in this new technology, where they have, of course, synthetic that are finding, and with adjuvant. So you put as a sovereign citizen, and we're all private citizens in public. That's like, oh yeah, back to the federal government. It got cut 50-50, where they get 50% of the power and the states get 50% power. But these elected officials of the state, you can reach out to them. They're administrators, and they take their oath, and then they just leave stuff hanging out to dry. As a sovereign citizen, and we're all private citizens in public. That's in the Bible. It says that's what God hates most, is the people who are lukewarm, and so he spit them out of his mouth. Never committing suicide. It's the thing where suicide, it is against the law, but how can you try someone who isn't alive? And it's like, oh well, the court is a living body, and that's where entities actually gain traction. There's entities. What's the difference between an entity and an enterprise? And it would all be based off of how the acceleration and a constant velocity are the exact same thing. Nothing is constant at a velocity, because everything is vibrating off of each other, and this is the persistence of life. I fancy it how like no one can see the same thing, because their eyeballs aren't like attached in the same location as another person's eyeballs, so it's always going to have a slight variation of difference if you're trying to be a purist. These facets that the founding fathers, they knew like technology was going to advance, and boy did the eugenics in the 1950s in its fruition. Filthy rich money, old tricks, and they're teaching the new dogs, and no one even knows that these people are acting like dogs. I just where then it's because like a pill or a capsule are the same thing, but if it's on a large scale, then it's not a thing. So literally, like bioweaponry leaked over the border, and then 9/11, which popped off into a war because of propaganda. The feds didn't stop them over the border, and now we all have to go through TSA the long way. Radar, a phone giving off radiation. I think if you boil it down to what's toxic and pollution, and then you say what are those difference of that, it's obviously like pollution seems it would be a gaseous state and everything else is liquid or solid, but when you've got liquid and a solid, it's quicksand, so that needs a label.